Joining us now is Ojinika Okpe, with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jinex.
I will have just said hello, Dr. But I have to welcome Rufai. You don't know what you're doing to your fans right now. Everyone's dancing with you. Welcome back, Rufai. High five. All right, you can say hello, Jinex now. Go ahead. I'm waiting for your hello, Jinex. You Dr. Mati, I'm waiting for your hello, Jinex. I'm waiting for your hello, Jinex. You know, I didn't greet you first. I greeted Rufai.
Well, I said hello, Jinex.
He's out of touch. Good morning.
Please,
Happy Friday.
somebody needs to take us a picture here. I'm not.
Oh, Jinex, can you face your assignment? Please do what you have to do.
We need picture.
We'll do it after the show. How about that?
Okay.
Very well. Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers.
Nigerians follow me.
Well, happy Eid El Fitri. Can we start my show now?
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe. In Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky is the latest world leader to have reportedly congratulated Nigeria's president-elect, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, on his election victory. In a statement signed by Tinubu's media aide, Tunde Rahman, on Thursday, Zelensky was quoted as saying, despite the extreme difficult testing times caused by the full-scale armed aggression of Russia against Ukraine, the country is determined to further strengthen cooperation with Nigeria at the bilateral level. In Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday approved the immediate suspension of Hudu Yunusa Ari, the resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa State, who illegally declared the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Aisha Dahiru Binani, as governor-elect before collation of results were concluded. The president also ordered the Inspector General of Police, the Director General of the Department of State Services, and the Commandant General of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps to probe the role of their officers in aiding and abetting the INEC rec for prosecution. Then, the Sultan of Sokoto and the President of the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Muhammadu Abubakar, on Thursday announced the end of Ramadan fasting and declared today, Friday, April 21st, as the Eid El Fitri celebration, following the sighting of the crescent moon. According to the monarch, reports on the new moon were received and verified by the National Moon Sighting Committee. In Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni has sent a proposed anti-LGBTQ legislation which would impose the death penalty for having gay sex and promoting homosexuality back to Parliament for review. Human rights activists say the bill is among the harshest legislation penalizing sexual minorities in the world. The United States is warning of consequences if the bill is approved. Ugandan lawmakers insist it will become law.
The bill has been supported unanimously by the NRM Parliamentary Caucus.
Under sports, seven-time Formula One champion Michael Schumacher's family announced on Thursday that they are planning to take legal action against German magazine Die Aktuell for publishing an artificial intelligence-generated interview of Schumacher. The magazine ran a smiling picture of Schumacher on its cover with the caption, Michael Schumacher, the first interview. The family argued that the quotes from the interview about Schumacher's health and family, which was produced using AI program called Character.ai, sounded deceptively real. Schumacher, who is considered one of the world's greatest drivers, suffered severe head injuries in a skiing accident in December 2013 and was put on induced coma before the head injury. The 54-year-old won 2 of his Formula One World Drivers titles with Benetton in 1994 and 1995, while he claimed 5 in a row for Ferrari from 2000 to 2004. Finally, under entertainment, Grammy Award-winning artist Beyoncé on Thursday announced that her Be Good Foundation will provide support to students and entrepreneurs on her upcoming Renaissance World Tour by giving out a total of $2 million. Entrepreneurs will have a chance to win grants that are slated to go to small businesses, totaling $1 million, while the other $1 million will be dispersed among 10 colleges and universities along the tour route through the Renaissance Scholarship Fund. The Renaissance Tour will kick off in May and is scheduled to run through September.
Well, let's begin what's trending. As today marks the Eid El Fitri celebrations, world leaders, including Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, have sent goodwill remarks to Muslims across the globe. President Muhammadu Buhari, in his message on Thursday, reflected on the 2023 general election and again reiterated that the exercise was transparent and that his party, the governing All Progressives Congress, lost ground in many states, while other prominent Nigerian leaders, including President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, also congratulated Muslims across the world. Well, Nigeria's former vice president and the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 elections, Atiku Abubakar, in his Sallah message, asked Muslims to join efforts towards building a more united Nigeria in light of the recent unfortunate bitter divisions caused by national politics. Well, Atiku added that he is worried about how the outcome of the presidential election has deeply divided Nigeria. I mean, Dr. Abati, well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate our viewers. I'd like our Muslim viewers. Happy Eid. Yesterday, we took a story of Lai Mohammed, who also talked about the fact that the 2023 election was, free and fair, was peaceful and, the least violent in Nigeria. And here we can hear President Muhammadu Buhari re-echoing his thoughts as well. I mean, like you said yesterday, a lot of people would disagree with him, but, I often wonder why this is the time to, talk about, events like that. But also Atiku Abubakar, we've heard that, we've not heard from Atiku Abubakar in a long time. And it's refreshing to hear from him and, celebrating Muslims in the way that he did. But I think he made a valid point. The elections have divided Nigerians really quickly.
Well, two perspectives on elections, depending on what side you're on. And when I heard or read his statement, that's Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, I thought perhaps he kept quiet due to Ramadan season. So now that the Ramadan, holy month of Ramadan, where they were fasting, so he kept his peace. And now that Ramadan is over, he now feels all right, or feels the need to speak out on the elections, and just to coincide with that. This is not the first time the president is saying that this was a free, fair, and credible election, was peaceful, and all the nice things about what an election should look like. However, the obvious, the evidence before us says the contrary. And Alhaji Atiku Abubakar puts it best in terms of saying that it was divisive. It was very divisive, and we've seen the outplay of it on social media. We've seen more divisions along ethnic and religious lines with regards to how people have come out, individuals being affected, businesses. In fact, people are saying that they will not hire people who are not from their particular ethnic group. That's how divided we are currently. It would be great to understand the metric by which the president has judged these elections, to give such a judgment as to how free and fair, or to laud it as being a great cycle. A number of CSOs beg to differ, a number of international observers beg to differ, a number of analysts beg to differ, and a number of Nigerian citizens beg to differ.
All right. Well, in the meantime, Nigeria's president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Thursday announced a 13-member presidential inauguration committee ahead of his inauguration on May 29th. The committee will plan a week-long inauguration event that will usher in Tinubu and his vice president-elect Kashim Shettima as the president and vice president of Nigeria. Well, first on the list is Bayo Ononuga, a spokesman for the Tinubu-Shettima Presidential Campaign Council. He will serve as head of media and publicity. Also on the list is APC's Deputy National Chairman, Senator Abubakar Kyari, who will coordinate and direct the committee's finance and budget, while Colonel Abdulaziz Yaradua, the younger brother of the late President Umaru Musa Yaradua, made the list. He was nominated as a head of security and ceremonial parade. I mean, ceremonial parade, I did see. I don't know, Rufai, you weren't here when, that video was circulating on social media where, the military were preparing for the inauguration, but also a lot of comments have been raised with the people that were picked as members. I don't know what your thoughts are. People talked about Bayo Ononuga as well. I mean, it's just an inauguration committee.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have problems with anybody picking the inauguration committee. It is the APC's inauguration committee. Definitely, Bayo Ononuga has done a lot of work for them as regards, publicity. But I have a lot of problem with most of his very ethnic and vile comments, which is not befitting of a veteran of the struggles in this country. And that's why a lot of people have asked, what changed with Mr. Bayo Ononuga, with the kind of words he has said over the years, and now the things he's saying now because of politics. Also, other people on the list, yes, he has a spread across section. I've got nothing with that. Nature abhors a vacuum, there's going to be a transition team and all of that, yes. But please, for the love of mercy, I'd like to comment on the story Ayo commented on. Let us see the truth always in this country. The truth will make you free. I'm seeing this attempt to push an agenda that this election was free and fair. It was anything short of it. Is it an election where a state broadcaster sponsored an electoral coup with Binani reading a public address of an election that has not been completed, and today MBC has not found them? Is that a free and fair election? An election where only Jennifer's crime in Surulere was because she wanted to vote and she was stabbed in the face, but she still votes with blood dripping? With all the people killed and maimed, hurt in Lagos? With all the people killed all over the country? With the videos of people saying election free and fair, with the discrepancy between the IRF result and what is seen on ground? Wasn't it Premium Times that carried the story about Obiakpon in River State? Because I've seen this attempt, and this attempt started after the Western media first flawed our elections and said it's flawed election. So there's a backtrack. Some people even traveled abroad. I'm not saying don't go and put your narrative forward, but tell the truth, because posterity will judge all of us in this country if we don't speak up. And the problem with Nigeria is that we've not been speaking up over the years and not saying things the way they are. I think it's CDD or one of this civil society group that said 109 people died 3 months leading up to the election. The wanton destruction of lives and property, the fact that people were baited along ethnic lines, town criers came out in Lagos on election morning saying don't come out to vote. We cannot see all of this and act like it never happened. And the holy month of Ramadan is a month of healing for a lot of us. So please, I would like to ask you, in this month of denial of fasting, what did you learn about the love of God? What did you learn about the love of God for you and for further human beings? Did the love of God, did it trump the love for humanity? Because you say you practice what you preach, but you did anything just to be able to get power. But you forget that you will leave this earth somewhere, and everything you acquire, you won't take it anywhere with you.
Those are pertinent questions. Dr. Abati, your thoughts on both stories?
Okay, first, look, the whole point about whether the election was free, fair, and credible. We have seen various reports by various observers, local, regional, and international, and there have been, observations made about how there were irregularities in that election. We've seen newspaper editorials telling the whole world how that was a flawed election that produced the outcome, but with the caveat that Nigeria could even organize elections and do so successfully raises hope about the future of democracy in Africa, given Nigeria's strategic importance. I'm just trying to do a quick summary of what others have said. But it is also, at the same time, as some people have argued, perhaps the most controversial election in recent Nigerian history. And that is why there are already over 400 cases before the tribunals at various levels. That is why even INEC is saying that he's looking for 3 billion for lawyers' fees.
I mean,
Because INEC is joined in almost every of the cases. In fact, lawyers are even saying 3 billion is not enough after we have spent so much money on the same election. That is why even in the presidential election, people are in court.
yes.
Okay? So, and the presidential election petition tribunal, people are even saying, why has that tribunal not started sitting up till now? So there are issues. There are persons who have grievances. But you can understand where the president is coming from. If the president says, oh, it was free, it was great, and that in fact, he as president even lost in his own state.
Yeah.
And that's evidence that, he was not trying to influence anything. Don't forget that the president had promised before and even after the election that he wants to leave a legacy of a successful electoral process. But history will determine whether, President Buhari can add the elections conducted under his watch as part of his legacy. What is clear is that already people are already saying, look, we still have to do a lot in terms of reforms. As for the greetings to the Muslim Ummah, well, I join you also in saying Eid Mubarak. The one thing that we should note is that the general elections in 2023 coincided with two major religious events: Lent with Christians, Ramadan with Muslims. And this is a very religious country where you find a church or a mosque at every street corner. And yet, during the month of Lent, and yet, during the month of Ramadan, people were snatching ballot boxes. People were rigging. Electoral officials were misbehaving. We witnessed the most recent, the most brazen hoodooism in Adamawa State, where a resident electoral commissioner knowingly, willfully violated the law and usurped the functions of a returning officer. And yet, these are the same people. Some of them have been to Jerusalem. Some of them have gone to Mecca. They go for Umrah at every time. But they don't behave like true Christians. Yeah. They don't behave like true Muslims. Mm-hmm. So one of the major challenges we face in this country is this gap between what I call private morality and public morality. Everybody is very religious, going to mosque, going to church. When it comes to conduct in the public space, the most pious people are the most, problematic in terms of conduct. And that's part of the problem we have in this country.
Well said, Dr. Abati. We'll take another story. Social media influencer Chude Nnamdi, who has been accused of intentionally sending a message via his Twitter handle for the purpose of causing annoyance, inconvenience, and danger to the person of renowned businessman Dr. Emeka Offor, and thereby committing cyber stalking, which is punishable under Section 24 of the Cyber Act of 2015, on Thursday, was granted bail by the Federal High Court in Abuja in the sum of 10 million naira. Well, according to reports, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, was the prosecutor in the case. Well, on March 18th, Nnamdi was arrested by the police in Anambra State and taken to Abuja. His arrest elicited criticism on social media, with some Twitter users claiming that he was apprehended over an alleged petition written by the governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo. Well, this is coming as another influencer and popular investigative journalist, David Hundeyin, raised the alarm that the blocking of his Twitter account was linked to his recent post on the dual citizenship against Nigeria's president-elect, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Hundeyin, in a television interview on Tuesday, claimed that indeed the president-elect does have dual citizenship and that he lied under oath when he filed his INEC EC9 form, a crime referred to as perjury and punishable by the laws of Nigeria. Rufai, I'm coming to you because you are very, prominent on Twitter. I always see you tweet. But, I don't know what your thoughts are on Hundeyin's story and the reason why they locked his account, because obviously he's talking about the fact that the person who he posted the personal details is a public, officer and should, and it's of public interest. And also your thoughts on Chude's arrest, which we mentioned, I believe, a couple of weeks ago when he was arrested in Anambra State and taken to Abuja.
So a couple of weeks ago, Chude was arrested. We talked about it. He was released, made a public apology, but apparently the people that are involved still want to take him to court. So hence this bail of 10 million naira again. All right, I even thought Chude's case has been sorted. But it's obvious they want to take him to court. And let him go to the court and face the full case. He has his own case. He should get a good attorney, explain his own side to the story and all of that. Secondly, as regards David's case, truth has to be told, because you see, Twitter too is like a country on its own. They've got their own laws. Part of their laws is the fact that you don't post public detail. You don't put personal details. Yes, there is that part, but there's also an allusion made to Mr. Festus Keyamo that posted the same passport of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his American visa.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And there were reports about that too. But why is it that the punishment was not as high-handed as the one that was now given to David, that his Twitter account was blocked for a couple of hours? So that's the question. But it also goes back to the discrepancy and the problem that have happened in Twitter since Elon Musk bought Twitter. Mm-hmm. Because you've sacked a lot of people, and people that are supposed to review the back end for case-by-case basis are no longer there. So when somebody makes a report, then you just go ahead and remove without understanding the context. So there's also a context problem there. And Twitter should watch it, because I heard one interview when Elon Musk was saying that, we have to subject ourselves to the whims and caprices of the nations of the world, just like how they are bending to India. The question is, what kind of social media site does he want to run? Because this Mr. Elon Musk is the biggest hypocrite I've seen in my life.
I'm going to follow you on that.
He keeps talking about free speech, but he's the most antagonistic of free speech. And since he has bought this platform, the platform has gone down. A lot of people are even thinking of moving off Twitter and going to other platforms.
Yes, because Rufai, only recently, I just want to touch on Twitter as well. Only recently, I think it was yesterday, they announced that they are going to be removing the blue check mark that was given to, journalists, celebrities, athletes. Dr. Abati, I know you have a blue check mark. I also have a blue check mark. And it's been really tough for me because I have to search through Twitter to find authentic news. And I've been seeing people that are not even, verified, posting things. And I'll be like, what are you posting? Who is this person? The person just has a blue check mark because they paid $8 to Twitter for subscription.
So that's the madness Elon Musk brings to. But he forgets that, see, this is different from SpaceX and Tesla. You can tweak around engineering designs. You can look around that. But you see, when it comes to media, it is a very strong matter. And care has to be taken, the duty of care. And that's what Elon Musk lacks. What he's just trying to do is he's promised that he wants to get Twitter to profit in third or fourth quarter this year. So that's the madness going on Twitter there. But that should not deter people. And what is the bone of contention of the matter? The APC should react.
Absolutely.
Does Tinubu has more than one passport?
Absolutely.
Did he not fill it up? They should say something.
Yes, we've been waiting.
We've been waiting, and the silence is so cold.
Really quickly, we only have a minute.
Let me just respond to a few things that had been mentioned. Number one is that, so with Festus Keyamo, perhaps the reason why is that if you obtain permission from the person, you can't post personal details. So that's probably why they didn't come really hard on them. Then this is what happens when, like you mentioned, Rufai, it's not like SpaceX as just a business. It's now a media platform, and perhaps doesn't understand how powerful what he has is. Well, he does. He probably does. But what I'm trying to say is that when media is driven mainly by profit, it becomes compromised. Yes. And that's what we see. And it would be such a shame. And I believe that would be the beginning of the end of Twitter.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Ayo.
Well, on Elon Musk is a businessman. He bought Twitter with over $40 billion, right? And he says he wants to generate revenue. And that the former managers of Twitter, they were not running it as a business, and they want to run it as a business. If he says you pay for verification mark, you are not forced to pay for verification mark, okay? And there are persons who have said they will not pay. Hence the controversy with the New York Times and with some other bodies. So we have to realize that this is business. As for David Hundeyin, the defense that is putting up is that, well, this is temporary suspension. It's not that it's been fully blocked or suspended.
No, it's been lifted.
And that he will come back, because he will make his own presentation. And the defense that he has given is a certain principle about public figures. That once you are a public figure, you are very limited claim to privacy.
Exactly.
The principle in law is called volenti non fit injuria. If you don't like heat, don't go near the kitchen.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
so it's good to hear that, that suspension has now been lifted. As for the other details, yes, if he's claiming perjury is an offense under the laws of Nigeria. Sections 117 of the Criminal Code, 118, 119, right? But you have to follow due process in 117. ACJA, the Criminal Justice Administration Act of 2015, says as a citizen, you can take a matter to court, but only a court can confirm perjury.
Yes.
And one witness cannot insist on perjury. There must be more witnesses. So if Ndeyim wants to follow up the case, he can go to court.
Absolutely.
But will he succeed? Will anybody issue an arrest warrant, as Section 117 further indicates, for the president-elect of Nigeria? There are so many ways to it. As for citizenship, anybody can have dual citizenship in Nigeria, as long as you satisfy sections 25 to 28 of the 1999 Constitution. Thank you very much.
For your great analysis on what's trending. And Rufai Oseni, Rufi on fire, welcome back. We're going to have our Eid celebration after the show.
Yes,
well, thank you, viewers, and happy Eid. That's all I have for you on what's trending today. I'll see you all next week.